So we're going to start with my conversation from just a little bit earlier today with David McCormick, who's the Republican nominee facing Democratic Senator Bob Casey in a race that you'll see in our poll and some other public polls is now very tight. With us now, David McCormick. David, thanks for joining. What's it like now running for your second time for Senate as compared to the first time?
Well, everything feels a little more established. I know what I'm doing. I know the kind of campaign I want to run. And if anything, the mandate to run is there's more energy than ever before, because I think this is a real choice. Two very different visions of the future, both at the Senate level on the top of the ticket. And I should start by saying congratulations on what's happening here in two-way, which is this kind of civil dialogue. I think is really critical. Politics right now is so nasty, but this election really reflects a huge choice in ideas of how to take the country forward. And for me, this is all part of a broader life of commitment to duty on our country. And what the America I know, even though I'm in the middle of a very tough campaign, the America I know is kind of the one I saw as a lieutenant in the 82nd Airborne Division, where I had a African-American kid from Newark in my platoon and a kid from rural Alabama and a platoon sergeant from Puerto Rico. But we never talked about religion. We never talked about politics. We were just part of defending our great country and being part of a team. So I think what you're doing here is great. And this is exciting because the Keystone State is obviously going to likely determine the presidency, and certainly has a lot to do with the majority in the Senate. And all eyes are on Pennsylvania, and it's exciting. And I think the momentum is really shifting.
There's a paradox in the country that's been around for a while, but tightened now, and it's true in Pennsylvania, which is red-blue divide, media is divided, a lot of very tough partisanship. And yet most Pennsylvanians aren't like that, even if they're a member of a party. Yeah. How do you see that divide? How do you see the conflict between division in Pennsylvania, very tough politics in your race and presidential race in Harrisburg, and yet most Pennsylvanians would say be about problem solving and not acrimony?
Well, if you step back, there's some really fundamental shifts happening. The party, Republican Party, is growing in Pennsylvania really dramatically. I'm sure you've seen the registration numbers, but when President Trump won in 2016, there was 1 million more registered Democrats than Republicans. And today it's under 300,000. It's like 298,000. It's moved a lot. Every day I get a new update, 3, 4, 5,000 have moved. So this is a huge shift. And I think it's reflective of a basic belief that government has failed most Pennsylvanians, and it's gotten particularly worse over the last 3.5 years. So economically, 60% of Pennsylvanians are living paycheck to paycheck. They are suffering under sky-high inflation, skyrocketing prices. The fentanyl crisis is hurting all Americans. It's killed 4,000 Pennsylvanians last year. Law and order in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh is in decline. Violent crime is up. That's moving to the suburbs. That is a defining issue. And energy, energy is the long pole in the tent for Pennsylvania's future, natural gas in particular. And so you see a huge debate around these four issues, with 75% of Pennsylvanians thinking the country's going in the wrong direction. And so the reason I outline those problems is those problems aren't Republican problems or Democrat problems or independent problems. Those problems affect all Pennsylvanians. And I think you're seeing, at least in my case, and I think in President Trump's as well, trying to run a campaign that builds a coalition that, of course, is the building block is a strong Republican base and a strong turnout, but that's also appealing to others because these problems are affecting everybody. And so even though it's a tough partisan fight, as you would expect it to be, given the stakes are so high, I think the political currents or cross currents cut across party.
Is there a consensus view in Pennsylvania, do you think, over what to do about the Ukraine war?
No, I don't think there is. I don't think there's a consensus view in Pennsylvania, maybe even in the Republican Party, obviously. I think there's probably a growing consensus that we need the conflict to end and that there's been such bloodshed on both sides. My position is that we should support Ukraine with military aid, but that also Europeans need to step up. France and Germany need to do more than they've done. and that we need to bring this to a close because it's becoming horrifically painful for all involved, lots of civilian loss. And I think it's more likely to come to an end if President Trump's in the White House, and I think he will bring it to an end.
Is there a consensus view in Pennsylvania about whether America can be and should be a manufacturing country?
Yeah, I absolutely feel a consensus within the Republican Party, and I think the Democrats say that, but I think their policies run counter to that. And let me describe what I mean by that. I think what President Trump's talking about and what I've reinforced is the notion of fair trade. And fair trade means there's certain key industries you got to have here at home. We learned that during COVID: pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, advanced manufacturing. But then the rest of our trades needs to be driven by the principle of reciprocity. We need to have a fair deal. We can't have non-tariff trade barriers. We can't have tariffs. We can't have government subsidies. If American workers have the chance to compete on a level playing field, they will win. They will succeed. And so our trade policy needs to be guided by that. And tariffs can be used very, very smartly and strategically to make sure we get that kind of trade policy. That's what happened with the steel tariffs. I think that's the kind of policies you'll see to bring manufacturing back to Pennsylvania, back to America, particularly most advanced levels of manufacturing. But it's not just trade that's the problem. Inflation has been really doing a huge damage to small manufacturers because their price of their materials are going up and they're not getting that on the price side. So they're getting squeezed. And regulations have made it harder and harder. All of this is tied, in my opinion, to unlocking energy. Because if Pennsylvania can be a low-cost energy provider, that's going to have much more appeal. And what the Biden administration has done with hundreds of billions of dollars of subsidies for fossil fuels, for wind, for solar, really has come at the expense of basic manufacturing, and certainly come at the expense of our fossil fuel industry. We need to not ban fracking. So the discussion is now about who should we ban or not ban fracking, with Kamala Harris saying, at least previously, she wanted to ban fracking. But in many ways, the Democrats have banned fracking without actually banning it through regulation, through red tape, through EPA mandates. And my point of view, and I think President Trump's, is we need to unlock that. The fracking jobs in Pennsylvania shouldn't just be maintained. They should be doubled or tripled or quadrupled, because natural gas and fracking is not only the key to the economic growth in Pennsylvania, bringing low-cost manufacturing back, but it's also key to our national security, to be a net energy exporter. It's also key to the environment. The reason carbon emissions have dropped so precipitously in the United States is because of the fracking revolution. We need to export that natural gas around the world.
The schools, the crime, the lack of economic opportunity in our biggest cities, including your two big cities, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, has gone on for a long time under Democratic mayors. You believe in a free market. Politics should be subject to the laws of the free market. How do you explain the failure of your party to nominate and run candidates in big cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh to offer free market solutions instead of what's been tried for decades and failed the people you'd want to have as your constituents?
Well, I think we'll see. I think we're making some progress on that. I would agree that the stranglehold that the Democratic Party has had on our cities, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia in particular, has led to only more absence of opportunity for the communities that live there, often minority communities. The crime in these communities has skyrocketed. The educational attainment is at all-time lows. And so if you think the American dream and the responsibility of all policymakers, but in the Republican Party, our responsibility is to bring that opportunity to everybody, to have the American dream be available to everyone. The American dream being, if you work hard, you're going to have the opportunity to grow and excel and have financial independence and have your kids have a better life than you have. School choice, in my opinion, is one of the key things that's going to unlock that opportunity. And unfortunately,
just take that one before you go forward. Yeah. Why hasn't school choice, when so many parents want it, why has your party failed to be able to sell that?
Well, I think our party's succeeding. It's not succeeded yet in Pennsylvania, but I think it's succeeding. So look what's happened post-COVID. I think COVID was a gift to the school choice movement, because what happened is parents looked over their kids' shoulders during COVID and they found the quality of education wanting. The teachers unions, of course, have had a stranglehold on this issue and the Democratic Party. But what happened after that is you're starting to see real breakthroughs in Florida, in Georgia, in Tennessee, in Arkansas. I've had all these governors come visit and campaign with me. There's huge movement on school choice. And we were on the verge of having that in Pennsylvania when Governor Shapiro was elected. And then frankly, he blinked after coming into office and didn't push through on some of the promises he had made for school choice. But I think we're going to get there. And when I'm campaigning yesterday in Philadelphia in minority communities, I hear this time and again that parents and students want the choice. And let's face it, Mark, this is the sad thing about it. The school choice does exist. It just exists for people who have money. And the people that will be most empowered by having taxpayer dollars channeled to the kid, giving choice and opportunity are often kids at the lowest levels socioeconomically, and that's going to be the building block for repairing our cities. We got to have law and order too. I think the law and order goes hand in hand with school choice.
Yeah.
And listen, this has been a bunch of very liberal policies. Larry Krasner type district attorneys in places like Philadelphia. My opponent, Bob Casey, has supported Larry Krasner. A defund the police movement. My opponent has been endorsed by the defund the police group in Philadelphia. That's why the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police in Pennsylvania, have switched their endorsement from Bob Casey to me, because you need to have law and order in these communities to have healthy families and successful schools. So it's all tied together. I agree with you. We've failed to break into that thus far, but I think there's some cracks in the ice.
All right, last question. Give me 2 Philadelphia tourism tips that are not like go to Hershey Park or go see the Liberty Bell. Like, what's a great food restaurant? What's a great place to stay? What's a great park? Just give me 2.
Well, the thing that I've done for years, for 20 years, Dean and I have done this with the kids. We go to Philadelphia for the Army Navy game. It is historic. But the thing we do, we don't just go to the art museum and run up the steps. We do a run through the streets of Philadelphia. I make the kids sing the Rocky song. And we run up the Rocky steps, and then we take pictures by the Rocky statues. So that is part of the lore. So that's certainly something. And the thing I just did recently, which I hadn't done, but was really meaningful, and I'd recommend it to your viewers, is Washington's Crossing, rather, where you see the place where Washington crossed the Delaware with a very sordid band and essentially turned the war around. And when you hear what those brave souls did, often many of them without shoes, in freezing waters, which really led to the America we have today, you see real bravery, and it makes whatever sacrifices those of us that are trying to seek public office feel like we go through. It makes it seem small compared to what so many have done to get America to what it is today.
What percentage of the vote are you going to get?
Well, I think it'll be very extremely close. I feel great. I will win or lose by 1 or 2 points. I think I'm going to win, and the reason I think I'm going to win is it's a real change election. I'm the change candidate. Bob Casey's the status quo candidate, and I definitely have the momentum. And I think I'm going to be able to build a coalition that's not just Republicans. I think you're going to see conservative Democrats and members of the trades and members of the Jewish community. I think I'm going to be able to put together some of the key minority communities. I think I'm going to be able to put together a coalition that's a winning one. I'm excited about it, and I'd certainly be honored to be the senator from Pennsylvania.
Do you have any nicknames?
No, I have no nickname.
No.
Well, Dean
right.
has names for me. Dean has names for me, but they're not repeatable.
if you win by 1 point, we'll call you Landslide McCormick from now on.
There you go. I'll take it.
David, thank you for making time, part of Pennsylvania. Appreciate it.
Nice to talk to you.